believe in what you do, feel what you do. If you don't believe in what you're doing, like other people are going to see that. I think the biggest thing to come from the album too was just the healing of my grandfather.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sorry it took so long. It was just like
no,
a fine time was kind of just wild for the past while. So
yeah, you're killing it. Your career is just taken off. I wanted to tell you that I saw you play with when you went on tour with Dan Mangan last year at the Bronson Center, and I didn't know a whole lot about you at the time. And oh man, I was like struck by you. I was struck by your songwriting and your beautiful voice. And I tell people that when I was in the room in the Bronson Center, when you started to sing, it was like you could hear a pin drop. Like there was a lot of drunk people there and a lot of, loud party people going, but you commanded that room. And it was just one of the most beautiful concerts I've ever seen.
thank you so much.
Just haunting. What was that tour like for you? Did you know Dan beforehand or
No, actually, I knew who he was. Like I listened to his music, and he just seems like a friend now. But yeah, like we
yeah,
definitely spent a lot of time because he did bring me on the tour bus, and he did like, and he didn't have to do that. Like that doesn't happen very often, where like the headliner has a tour bus and they bring the opener on, and like kind of like it just made it logistically so much easier. Like I wasn't having to chase the bus the whole time, and I was actually yeah, it was just great. And to just be in the same space and to just be able to pick his brain, like he was like really open to like any kind of question. Like I called him like the other month when I just had like a question about like publishing stuff. And like
yeah,
and he just like he's like, oh yeah, sorry, he's like, I'm just dropping off my kid. Can I like call you back in like 30 minutes? I was like, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
for sure. He like stopped somewhere, had a coffee, and then like we just kind of like chatted. Yeah, just really great guy to tour with too. Like he's just like a
It's like a
what
mentor in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
that's what I felt like. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, definitely one of the Canadian sweethearts. And yeah, I message him every now and then, just, similar asking for, help with, navigating some of the aspects of the music industry that I'm just getting to know. And it's true. It's always like paragraphs back on, okay, this is what you need to do, or I had luck with this, try this. I know that you were raised just outside of Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would love to know just a little bit about what you were like as a child. Let's say like around 6, 7 years old. What were you like? What was your family like at that time?
Yeah. 6, 7 years old. I'm trying to like this is before we moved to that we trailer in kind of the sticks. We were still in the rural country there, but yeah, we lived on a place called like Hill Road. It was still kind of in Kaministiquia. It's funny like describing how to get there sounds like pretty like whimsical almost. It's like you have to like drive down Strawberry Hill and go down
Yeah.
Silver Falls Road, but not too far, or you'll end up in Sunshine. Like that's
Yeah.
but like yeah, like I grew up in the country, grew up like mostly with my brother, my sister. My brother moved to the city at a young age too. So it was like me, my sister, my cousin Miranda came and lived with us as well. I had a lot of time just hanging out, like playing like a lot of the times by myself. Sometimes meet up with friends, but you'd have to like bike 10 kilometers to go
Yes.
meet your friend. And like I just for some reason I had a trick bike.
Okay.
It wasn't even like so like going up hills with like the tiny bike with like one gear was just like really annoying. I spent a lot of time just kind of playing in the bush, even though like when we moved to like the new place and there was like no electricity and no running water and stuff, like it was still like a privilege to be able to kind of like just grow up in nature. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
and kind of just grow up with your own thoughts a little bit. Um, but I think a part of that too is like so like my mom would be away a lot of the time. Like she'd kind of take these odd jobs and stuff. And that's kind of how I got into songwriting too, was just kind of lack of things to do. And I ended up
Yeah.
kind of writing songs and using writing songs as like kind of like a way to kind of process things and work through things myself.
Yeah. It's a really healthy thing to reach for, right? I love that. I love that. Like, would you say you were comfortable being alone? Like you liked being alone with your thoughts and writing that way?
Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely. I think I felt most comfortable. I think I felt uncomfortable when like I thought people could hear me because like
Yeah.
it's like such a shy. I was kind of a shy kid, I'd say for sure. Like
Okay.
I wasn't like incredibly outgoing or anything like that. So yeah, the thought of like people hearing me sing, even like my family, like it's terrifying to
Yeah.
me. Well, that's why like I like moved out of my mom's house into a camper in the backyard to like write songs and play music.
You have a cool mom. I watched an interview where you talked about this and I thought, 12, I have a 12-year-old. So I was like, would I let Simon move, a couple of acres away? And that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And like I lived in there like all seasons long. My mom knew well enough. She's like, if it gets yeah, he'll come back in here when he needs to come
When he
like
needs.
grab food and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
I still lived in there for like the one winter too. Like I
Oh,
lived in it
wow.
and it was just like I had like this massive like sleeping bag, heavy blanket. Yeah, yeah.
So like where, or maybe a better question would be like, when do you think you fell into that confidence? You said you used to sing, but you didn't want people to hear you. Um, do you remember a certain moment where maybe something settled in your soul that you said, no, I'm good and I'm gonna do this?
I'm not sure. Like I think I still wrestle with that thought of whether I'm not a good.
Are you kidding me?
um
I mean, that's normal, right?
and it's
Imposter
yeah,
syndrome.
and it's that and like it's just I never like I always want to keep challenging myself too, and I always want to keep like progressing and keep like evolving. And
Mhm.
so I would worry to start to ever be like develop a massive ego or like think like I've mastered anything. Like I feel like that would just like hurt my own like artistic abilities. I moved into Thunder Bay when I was 15 and I moved into like this house of artists and I started like a band and then I started playing like all the bars in Thunder Bay when I was like 15
Wow.
and I was still nervous though. Like it was funny. Like even like moving to Toronto and like it took me a long time to actually tell stories between songs. I think that like only happened with
Mhm.
last like 3 years even or yeah, like I signed with Ishkadate like 3 years ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about because it doesn't seem like that long ago.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think like pre-pandemic, even like I'd play in bands and I'd just be like, this is a song. And then and then this is the title of the song and just play.
Yeah.
I think
That sounds normal for a new and growing musician. Yeah.
yeah, I think making the album about my grandfather, like I feel like in making that album, but then in presenting it and sharing those songs, like I was kind of like I just couldn't just say like this is the name of the song, like it deserved a certain amount
Yeah.
of air to present the song. So like yeah, like I started just talking about the songs a lot more and it's interesting now because now it's not even like I get nervous about talking now. It's like I get nervous about talking too long now, but also
Oh,
nervous
really?
I get nervous about like seeing a lot of familiar faces in the audience, and I'm like, well, I don't want to just like tell the same story. So I like think of like another thing about the song that maybe they would not have known,
Yeah.
which sometimes feels good, and sometimes this leads me onto very long tangents.
I I think it's okay when you know that people are there to hear your stories, right? It's like the first album or the first EP that you released, it was Watan, right? About your
The
grand.
Yeah, the first album, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you launched your career with such a beautiful yet heavy message and heavy album that is just so beautiful. It was such an incredible way to honor your grandfather. And I know you recorded that during COVID, which I love because a lot of the interviews that I've done, people really struggled during COVID. And I'm not saying you didn't struggle during COVID, but to take that time and do something so beautiful and so meaningful with that time, I think, it just feels so meant to be. And I'm curious, so what was it that really just sparked your interest in recording your grandfather's story and your family's story?
Yeah, it was a number of things. What sparked it was, like, I'd moved him into a long-term care home, and then I was working in news at the time, so, like, I got home and, like, was doing stories of, like, on outbreaks at long-term care homes.
Yeah.
So that sparked the conversations just because like, an outbreak would happen and then, like, to just put it really bluntly, like,
Yeah.
people would die. A lot
Yeah.
of people weren't able to get COVID and survive in the long-term care homes. So yeah, I just ended up calling him a lot, checking out and be like, "How's the new place?" And, like, worried you wouldn't answer. And then, like, the things that sparked the recording, like, one was, like, him starting to forget his memories.
Mhm.
Like, I remember, like, talking to him, and he was, like, telling me about this story, and then, like, I'd heard the story before, and then, like, realizing, like, he forgot a bunch of, like, details.
Mhm.
And 2, my own kind of struggle with reconnecting with my roots, because I moved in with my grandfather when I was 4, so, like,
Yeah.
I left Sandy Lake First Nation when I was 4.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up in my community. So I think, like, with a lot of Indige folks who, like, don't grow up in their communities, there's still this kind of, like, um
Longing, sort of like a
well, it's like a reconnection thing too, right? And, like, connection to your roots and, like, your identity and so growing up so far removed and kind of, like, having my grandfather's memories disappearing and, like, so that's what triggered me to, like, again, I was like, "Do you mind if I just record these conversations?" And so, like, I just started recording them, and that's, like, kind of what started that, and then that just carried on for the rest of the year. But yeah, an album wasn't, like, at the forefront of the thought process when that started. Like, an album just kind of happened as a result of it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just, like, listening back to the recordings and writing a song, like, being
Yeah.
inspired, I wrote a song, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like, this is a project I could work on. Because at that point, like, I'd given up the dream of making it as a musician.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, because the top of 2020, like, I was playing with a band, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be our year," and it wasn't, and I was like, "Okay, you know what? Like, I got a good career." I was, like, the first person one of the first people in my family to, like, graduate post-secondary and get a job at, like, a big like, I was working at CTV,
Yeah.
and I was, like, a salaried journalist, which
Amazing.
and unionized.
Wow.
That doesn't happen, and especially for, know, people who haven't been in the industry for X amount of years. So, like,
Yeah.
I was like, "You know what? I'll just get job, and I'll just make music on the side." And so I think coming from it from that place too, because at that point, like, I wasn't trying to, like, make a product. I wasn't trying to, like, make it as an artist. I was just like or make it as a musician or whatever,
Mhm.
right? It was just like, I'm just making music for the sake of making music because it's something
Yeah.
I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Well, it was like there wasn't a lot of pressure to pump out, hit songs, which so many artists, fall victim to.
Yeah.
What was the process like for you writing the album? Would you say that there was an element of healing in it for you?
I think there was, like, this, like, massive, like, fear of just losing so much of my family history and then trying to, like, save a piece of that. And I think, yeah, making the album that, like, tells, like, just a small piece of the story of my grandfather, like, a big part of that fear was lifted knowing that, like, I had saved, like, a little piece of
Mhm.
the family story. The issues I had a lot before of just, like, reconnecting to the roots and like, knowing more about myself and knowing more about my family, like, that kind of
Mhm.
subsided a lot. Like, I think it's still kind of just a lifestyle thing too, but yeah, I think that was incredible thing, and, like, I think the biggest thing to come from the album too was just the healing of my grandfather.
Mm.
Like, that was the wildest thing that, like, I didn't think like, I didn't know that my grandfather would decide to, like, just, like, forgive and move on with his life. For a lot of people in his shoes, he was taken when he was 8, and he went through the
Yeah.
residential school system and, like, just had a lot of other things in his life that he, like, faced a lot of, like, racism and ignorance and all this stuff even after school and whatnot. Like, that album led on to get, like, all these, like, nods and
Accolades.
accolades and but my grandfather had decided like, he told me he was, like, ready to forgive and move on with his life, and that was, like, 3 months before he passed away, like,
Wow.
I think, like, in some form, he got, like, a bit of closure, which, like, to happen within his lifetime is just like just a wild thing. And all the people around him, like his nurses and stuff, would just be like, "Oh yeah, like your grandson's like out there, and he's like telling your story. He's like on the stage, and he's in this part of the world, and he's like doing
Mm,
this. He's doing this interview, and suddenly people didn't know his life, and suddenly they did, and they were asking him about it, and he was just
yeah,
able to talk about it more openly, and he was able to like just be seen and be heard and be acknowledged and be validated in some ways, and so I think that was something that was not expected and just happened and
yeah.
is like a beautiful thing to like unfold.
That's unbelievably beautiful. You're like his hero or something, or like his, his guide. I think that's incredibly special. And I'm sure that he's super proud of you. And are you proud of yourself? Like, do you recognize what you've done and what you did for him?
I think I still reflect on it a lot. Like it's been pretty well nonstop for the last while.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I play his songs and like I tell stories about his life and I tell that story in particular, yeah, it's still a wild thing to me. Yeah, just the power of music,
Yeah,
to that just to kind of happen was yeah, the best thing to come from the record. So
yeah. Amazing. It's beautiful. Everything you create is just so beautiful. I can't wait to see where your career takes you. You made history with your Juno wins last year, and I'm wondering how has that changed your career, and maybe even personally, like what has it done for you, the Juno wins?
yeah, it helps, like I think the biggest thing is like people who vote are in the music industry in some shape or form. Like being acknowledged by your peers is like
Huge.
pretty incredible, and to be acknowledged by people like far and wide across the whole country, like because there was a lot of people in those categories who were doing so well, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, for them to see what I'm doing and feel it worthy of that award, like I think for a minute, like I was in my own head about it, about like living up to that, like there was for a while, like I was like in my head about like, oh, like songwriter of the year wouldn't write that stupid thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like so in my own head about everything I was writing for a minute. But yeah, yeah, you know what? I think I just took a step back from that and just decided, like I'm just gonna write things that like I really kind of resonate, or like these little songs about pieces of my life that really kind of meant something to me. And I was gonna write. You know what? Like
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong way to write a song, but I think just finding your audience and finding the people who connect with you and like that will be how you kind of maintain and live a nourishing music career.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. When you're writing songs, what usually comes to you first? Is it sort of the music and the melody, or is it like the story?
I think it's a lot of the time like the music and the melody. Like I'm getting better at starting with words now, but I think just from my own like bit of upbringing, I've always come to be like compartmentalized a little bit. And
Mm.
so like sometimes it just takes me finding like a melody and finding like a mood and just screaming into the abyss, which is a microphone with a ton of reverb on it.
Yeah.
And wow, then like it's just kind of like dredging up these things and then suddenly I'm giving myself a therapy session, So
Yeah. Beautiful. Can we talk about some of maybe your favorite Canadian musicians? Who would you say like top three, biggest inspirations for you?
it's hard to say
You
because
don't want to leave anyone out either, right?
that's exactly it. And I haven't met a ton of people, like I can say I like people's music, but as far as like musicians who have had direct impact on me, obviously like Amanda and Shoshona like
Yeah.
have signed me to their label and like gave me like such incredible mentorship and opened up so many doors for me. Working with them was just like, and I still, still working with them. Like they still offer like so much guidance and so much
Nice.
mentorship. yeah, like a lot of the artists I got time to spend with and time to tour with, like obviously Dan Mangan and Allison Russell
Yeah.
and even a lot of my peers too, like yeah, Ruby Waters inspires me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like yeah, even a lot of people behind the scenes as well. Yeah, obviously my whole team, but like yeah, Hill Kirkudis who produced Watton, like we're still really close and so yeah, like just building those relationships and
Yeah.
yeah, within the music industry and within the space you kind of live and work in. You know what I mean? Like that was one thing that was like a bit difficult. I think being like just kind of shot into the music world was like it does kind of like choke out your social life a little bit in your personal life. Like it's not even
Yeah.
like an intentional thing. It's just like
Consuming.
this industry is like to be it's really all consuming and you really like yeah, I just have like a lot of things I want to do and like I guess like this kind of ambition to kind of keep performing, keep growing and all
Yeah.
this and like so yeah, it does kind of like so to find those relationships within the music world I think is very important and to find like those healthy
Yeah.
relationships.
How, you just sort of touched on it, but you really, the past 3 years have been just a whirlwind for you and really intense. How do you stay grounded? Like, how do you keep your feet on the ground during this and, honor yourself and your own dreams?
Yeah, I think like yeah, a big part of it is like I said, like making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who get it as well. Like, I won't name names, but like I just got like shot like a message a while ago from someone who was just like, "Hey, like I came to the festival and you said you'd say hello and you didn't say hello." And like there was this whole like thing that happened at this music festival, this situation that arose that I had to deal with like in the backstage area, which
Yeah,
anyways,
stressing.
and like this whole thing turned into me not being able to say hello to this like an old friend. A friend was
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, like I heard like I went back to where we grew up, and people say you're like standoffish, and they say this and
Mm.
this, and like it's like such a feeling of like, oh man, I didn't know, like not like sorry I didn't like come and say hello, like there was literally something happening, and I couldn't take
Yeah.
my time from it, and so it's yeah, like just living in these new spaces, which makes kind of sometimes like certain parts of your life a little hard to
Yeah.
manage.
It's like
Um,
trying to figure out how to set boundaries too and make people understand that you're working.
yeah,
It's hard, I think, for people. I think I'm not sure if you've seen many of my posts, but I'm managing like an up and coming Canadian rock band right now, and it's something I've had to learn almost all over again. When I'm at a show, I'm working. I'm with them. They're my priority, and so it can be hard when friends or family come out and they just expect to see you and sit and have a drink and catch up, but it's not like that at all. And I imagine for you, especially with where you are in your career, that this is probably something you're going to encounter over and over again. I think.
y- no, exactly, and it's like it's like I don't mean any disrespect, but like this is my workspace. This is like
Yes.
at work. It isn't like the movies. Well, I'm sure for some people it is, but like you know, backstage is still very much a workspace. You know, like
Yeah. It's true. It's like you're warming up or you're decompressing or you're networking, you're meeting people. Yeah, I'm sorry you went through that. How do you set those boundaries for yourself would be a question. How do you set those boundaries with or even, fans who think they know you better than they do?
yeah, like I think it's always interesting too. Like I mean, it's very situational, I guess. Like I'm still learning how to do that, especially because I like to go say hello to people. I like
Yeah.
after the show, say hello and but I like to say hello to everybody. So I know there's some people who just have a lot they need to say, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll just start talking about like so like how's your day and like and
Yeah.
it's really nice. But like like this, I'm like oh man, there's like a lineup of people here, and some people are maybe a bit older or something. They shouldn't be like standing for that long or something like so.
Yeah.
I wish I'd be a little mindful of those situations. Yeah. You meet all kinds of people, you get
Yeah.
all kinds of messages, and, like, I try to respond to as many as I can, like, if I have the bandwidth for it, like, I will try and set aside a little time to, like, respond to stuff or
Yeah. I mean, that's great, right? That's also, that's sort of the trick with the industry is balancing, time with your fans and creating that community because they're the ones that are gonna carry you through your career, right? But then
yeah,
also finding time for those people that are close to you and that, really love you and, I imagine it will be a struggle, like a constant thing.
yeah, no, definitely.
What advice would you give to young artists starting out right now in the industry?
That's a tough one, but I think just, like, figure out music what kind of music you wanna play, and what kind of stuff do you wanna say. I worked with a ton of different producers, and sometimes they'll get artists who don't know what they wanna say or don't know what they wanna do, and they'll be like, "Alright, like, what kinda song do you wanna make?" And there'll be, like, 5 different songs that sound completely different. Yeah, just find a place that makes you happy. Find, like, something that you truly enjoy playing and truly 'cause, hey, like, you'll never know what song kicks off, like,
Yeah.
you you might end up having to play that song at every show for the rest of your life, so just make sure
Yeah.
what you something that you love to do. Trying to learn as much about the music industry as you can, like, there's so much stuff just online and in books you can read, but
Yeah.
one thing I would say is too is definitely just develop the craft, make sure you're rehearsing and you're practicing but music conferences, like, that's always something
Yeah.
I recommend to people, like, I find the smaller ones to be a bit better as well.
Mhm.
You got massive ones like South by Southwest, but, like, it's kind of unless you're, like, a part of, like, the hot ticket item, unless you're one of, like, the top 10 acts to go see at South by Southwest, I'm not sure how much you'll really get out of it because, like, there's just thousands of musicians and
Yeah.
just a small group of music industry people, so it's like to try
Yeah.
and get their attention's a bit hard.
Yeah. What
That's
about
like
Canadian Music Week? Were you ever part of CMW?
yeah, like I did the yeah, I played the Jim Beam Awards last year, and it was so funny because,
Okay.
I think it was billed as a Charlotte Cardin show,
Mhm.
and it, like, merged into, like, the award show, so I think a lot of the audience was actually, like, kind of they're like, "Whoa, what's going there's an award sh"
Oh my god.
A lot of the people were just, like, waiting for Charlotte to play, but,
Oh, no.
he played that, and it was pretty jokes. It was madness, though, but, like, but it all came together in the end. Yeah, that one's pretty big as well. Like, I went this year I went to, like, the publisher awards because like, I'm still self-published, and so I like to be in those spaces and
Yeah.
work and stuff, but, yeah, like, honestly, I like the small ones.
Yeah.
Like, to I went to, like, Tallinn Music Week in Estonia, and, like, now I'm doing, like, a tour in Taiwan, you know?
Wow.
Like, Folk Music Ontario, like, I went to the awards last night. I went there 2 years ago. I remember, like, I quit my job and then started planning to do, like, music conferences, but, like, with the smaller ones, like so Folk Music Ontario, it has, like it's all in a hotel. There's, like,
Yep.
3 bars, and a bunch of showcases in the hotels after, but you actually get FaceTime with all the people who come, like, you get FaceTime with all this music industry, whereas, like, before I would just set up shows at bars, at venues, and just, be pushing it on social media and
Yeah.
harassing my friends to come out, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
uh, and hoping someone would walk through the door, whereas, like, the music conferences, like, you're playing to, like, a room full of those people, right? So it's like you're playing
Yeah.
festivals, you're playing to people who do this and do that. But when you go to those places, you gotta make sure, like, you come there with, like, a show that you're really proud of. Like,
Mhm.
a show that's really rehearsed, a show that's gonna capture them, otherwise, maybe it won't be so much worth your time.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to there network and make relationships, like, it's still great for that too. The Canadian music industry is kind of pretty everybody kind of knows each other, it seems
Yeah,
like.
it's small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say for sure. Like,
Okay.
believe in what you do, feel what you do. Like, if you don't believe in what you're doing, like other people are gonna see that. Like, just do
Yes.
something, do the things that you want to do and things that move you. Um, like I said, like I feel like that would be a happy place for me is just finding an audience that really resonates with all the things that I do and kind of just living there, you know?
Yeah. How do you feel as an artist, having the sort of baseline pressure to always be, you know, creating and pumping out content on social media? How does that?
Yeah, I feel like it's still a bit of a a grind for me because I don't have the
Yeah,
biggest social media following. And so, oh man, if I had a viral TikTok problem, that'd probably answer all my
I
problems.
know.
I
It's
think
just like not even reality. I mean, it could happen, it could happen. It's not a reflection of talent. But do you find pressure? Like, do you have pressure from your team to be constantly putting stuff out?
no, no, no.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think they don't worry about it because I put that pressure on myself.
Mm. Okay.
um, I found I've started to like hire videographers when we go on shows, and I've started
So
to like,
smart.
and it's so worth it to be honest. Like, obviously, like when you go on the road, like the first thing you would want is probably like beyond the band is like getting yourself a front of house person and then
Yes.
getting yourself a lights person. I've just been kind of using the house text and bringing a bit, but
Yeah.
it's important. Like for me, it's important because yeah, I was never very good at like just looking at a phone and being like, "Hey, what's up, guys? What's up? Ayasanabee Beehive? What's going?" You know what I mean? Like it's like it just seems I can't get over myself. I feel like I'm just putting it on. You know, like so
Really?
so to get like a videographer just capturing stuff that's actually happening and like us
Right.
rehearsing and doing things I actually do, like I feel is pretty sweet. So like I mean, part of me is still wanting to get like a really sweet rehearsal space that's all mine because then I can
Mhm.
just like, rehearse and grab clips of me rehearsing because like
Yeah.
I just don't want to get stuck in doing something like something goes viral that I had to like put a mask on to do.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing you're stuck doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's on social media? What's something that
You're proud of.
you do anyways too? Like I'm like, well, I rehearse all the time, so why not just grab a clip of that and put it on there? Because like
Yeah.
I've been in a bunch of like master classes with like TikTok sensations, and they'll be like, the question's always like, how did it work? And they're always like, I don't know.
It just happened.
I just did one thing and I kept doing it for some reason. You get all these gurus and stuff, but then
Yeah.
it's always
Yeah.
kind of just random stuff that picks up.
Yeah. Well, obviously what you're doing is working. I ask everybody this question and I'm curious what your answer is gonna be. If you had like a magic wand and could wave it and have no obstacles in front of you, what would be the biggest dream for your life?
Like as a musician,
In any way, all the ways. If you're, like on your deathbed and to feel completely, fulfilled and peaceful and like you lived the life that you were destined for, what would that life look like?
oh wow, that's crazy because like sometimes I get tunnel vision. I think yeah, to have just had like a ton of memories and
Mm.
stuff. I would love to get to like that tail. I'm obviously not like Taylor Swift level, but like that at least some of the things she does where like she finishes like a big tour and then just brings like her whole crew to like an
Yeah.
island Caribbean to go like decompress for 2 weeks. That
Oh
would
man.
that'd be really sweet to be able to like, all right, guys, we played like a sweet world tour and we've been working hard for like 4 months. Let's go like go to
Go
this island,
chill.
some boats and Stevie's waiting and like this chef who cooks fresh fish.
So like financial freedom to
Financial
to
freedom would be
to
amazing.
spoil people.
Yeah, yeah, it would be great to like be able to yeah, spoil people and do things and like decompress in those nice ways, but also like to write albums in comfy ways too would be sweet.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I always crave memories more than things. I'm like, I don't need like a Ferrari or anything, but I would love to like, yeah, go with some friends to a nice place and like, I don't know, snowboard on some sand dunes, you know what I mean?
Oh, man. That's a beautiful dream. I love that. If you need a coach on your in your dream, let me know and I'll come, coach you guys in the background up from the jet skis.
Where do we go from here?
I'm curious what's coming up next for you. I know that you're going to Australia, right?
Yeah.
I heard rumor that you're gonna be dropping a new album in the new year.
Yeah, yeah, that's,
Still the plan?
yeah, no, definitely, definitely. That's pretty well wrapping up. Yeah, I don't think there was any massive rush to just hop into an album cycle immediately for me, to
No.
be honest. I feel like not releasing new stuff right away gives me more time to even just work on new stuff, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like it's true they say where like, you have your whole life to release your first album, but then you have a year to release your next
I
so
know. Which
it is
sometimes feels too soon, you know? I mean, I guess it depends on the artist and the album and everything, but sometimes I feel like albums deserve more than one tour, you know? They deserve several. So this next album you're dropping, I know you don't wanna say too much about it. Would you say you're equally as proud of it as you have been your other ones?
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think even with the last record I put out, like the EP Here and Now, like
Mm,
there was always like just that concept record, like with Grandfather's Story, like that was such a the way it was written and how it was written and what it was about and the context of the songs and stuff. I don't know. It'll always be hard for me to like think I can like make something as beautiful as that record, you know, especially
oh,
when I'm just
really?
writing songs that are just like about my own personal life. Like I wouldn't put out stuff that I'm not like happy about or stoked on. So
Yeah. I love talking to you. I think you're a very special artist and a very special songwriter, and I feel like you're a little bit hard on yourself. Would you say you're hard on you're like your biggest critic?
oh, yeah. Oh my god. But so many artists are, that's the thing, is like, I will talk to, like, my peers about it and be like, "Oh, yeah, I've been down that rabbit hole. I was there yesterday." You know what I mean? Like, people
Yeah.
yeah, we are definitely our own worst critics 100%. But also, you know, I've met people who aren't, and that's a that seems like a sweet place to be too, but,
You have a talent that not all artists have, which is writing music in a way that really forms connection. So don't sell yourself short on that. And I do believe some of your best music is still unwritten. You know, I can't wait to hear more about you and your heart and your journey through your songwriting. And I know I'm not alone. So I hope I get to catch you on tour soon. Are you coming through Ottawa in the next year? Do you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I believe so.
Amazing. Amazing. Maybe I'll catch you in Toronto too. I'm there all the time now, working with the band. But do you have any questions for me? Or is there
Yeah,
anything
which band are you working with?
have you heard of Harmon Ease?
Oh, yeah, I love those guys.
Do you?
I just, I saw them at the Songwriters Hall of Fame just recently, and,
Yes. I was actually watching the clip of you to prepare for this, and I saw them walking behind you. So I was gonna ask you, yeah, so you've seen them play?
yeah, yeah. No, they're amazing. Yeah, I was at their house one time. I was at their house
Oh,
on but I was like, "How did you guys score this place in Toronto? This is such a beautiful." I've
yeah.
I've I've lived in Toronto for a minute, and so, like, I've gone through a number of apartments, and I'm like, "This is probably the nicest place I've."
It's pretty big. Yeah, and they've got a big, beautiful backyard with basketball court and everything. Yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll be like, maybe we can do some sort of, collab in the future. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. That'd be
No, well,
great.
we've been chatting about writing for a second. It's mostly just trying to find the time there, and so
I
that's why,
know.
like, that's why it's nice not hopping into a cycle right away, is because now it does open up like windows of time to actually sit down and write with people. So
Yeah,
there's a list of people I've been meaning to sit down and see what we can
I
work on
love it.
together, and they're on that, that's for sure.
Amazing. I love hearing that. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking time to do this with me. I owe you one. So if you ever need anything, let me know.
Yeah, sounds good.